Good day, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Epictalks podcast, right here at the Riverside Epicenter's EpiPod studio. Today, we're going to bring you our series that's known as Behind the Curtain, where we take a look at the behind-the-scenes look and some of the things that are going on with some of the clients and things here happening at the Riverside Epicenter. Today's episode is going to be all about the environment, environmental justice, and those things as it pertains to sustainability and climate and all of those things that are really, really important that we're hearing about in the news today. Today, we're going to be joined by a very, very esteemed guest and client here of the Riverside Epicenter, our good friend, Mr. Birdley James. Mr. James comes to us from the Sustainable Green Printing Partnership, the SGP. And we're going to talk a little bit about what all of that is, who Mr. James is, why he decided to come choose to host an event here at the Riverside Epicenter, and moreover, talk about the sustainability that's being addressed, because for folks who look like us, we don't get a chance to hear about that all the time. Right. So, Mr. James, take it away.
All right. Thank you for that intro, Corey. Pleasure to be here on this podcast. Thank you for having me. So let's dive quickly into it. So Sustainable Green Printing Partnership. What is that? And what does it mean?
Yeah,
what does it stand for? So the organization was founded many years ago. Sustainable Green Printing Partnership stands for a company. It represents a company, an organization that was founded on the principles of encompassing the whole print community.
Okay.
That's all of United States and Canada.
Okay.
And they're a foremost leader in bringing those organizations in and creating a certification process that they can adhere to help them be more sustainable and green. So that's a lot of what sustainability is for as a green printing partnership.
So when you say green printing, help me understand what that really means for our viewers. Like when we talk about printing, what do you mean? Like you mean printing flyers, printing books? What are we printing?
So all forms of printing, to be exact, Corey. That ranges anything from like small levels of printing as far as like books printing, all the way up to large format printing. And
wow.
Large format printing is probably one of the latest things, especially when you look at like digital. Mm-hmm. You still have your different forms of printing. So you still have like lithograph, you still have screen printing, you have flexo, large format digital printing. So all forms of printing.
Oh, wow. So I think I'm familiar with what lithographs are. I think I bought a couple of those and I went to Disney World.
Right.
But, large format, you mean like vehicle wraps and billboards and things like that?
Absolutely. POP print. If you go into some like retail print, so if you walk in a large retail chains and you see graphics hanging, it may say departmental signs, nice, robust, three-dimensional letter printing, all those forms of printing.
Oh, so like the big hanging signs you find at the supermarket and the department stores and things like that.
Exactly.
Wow. So tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you get into that sort of thing?
Well, I started out in large format printing, was actually screen printing back in the early 90s. Mm-hmm. And as a company, organization I work for, we actually evolved. We still do forms of screen printing, but we're more known now for our large digital format printing. Mm-hmm. And how I got started, out of high school, believe it or not. I mean, it was just an opportunity experience. I was supposed to go military. Ended up going into the workforce right after high school. Mm-hmm. And I landed at this one company, which was a well-known, respected company in the southeastern area of the United States. So got into it. That was early 90s. I find myself 30 years later, wanting to make a change. I was involved in various committees in our sustainability program. Mm-hmm. And we were, of course, involved with SGP. And through opportunity and, changeover, I ended up getting handed the position of coordinator and compliance manager for my organization, Millersdale. Mm-hmm. And it's been a very influential and important move in my life, to move into sustainability and environmentalness.
Wow. So you mentioned Millersdale. So Millersdale is a client of ours here at the Riverside Epicenter. Very valued customer, wonderful, wonderful institution over there. How did you land at Millersdale, and how did that dovetail for you getting to get involved with the SGP?
Yeah, actually. So, as I mentioned, started out very, very early on in screen printing. And, there's a lot of opportunity at a company like Millersdale. They do so many different facets of so many different things. They're not just printing. That's the first thing I want to get out of the way. They're not just printing. They are a retail-driven, retail services firm That's everything down from printing, design, implementation, logistical work, everything. So great company to be a part of. And sustainability is a big part of their identity now. You know, they are a company known for always trying to do the right thing, you know, and it's important to them, so it's important to me, and I'm a product of Millersdale.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. So that's great. So that I think is perfect segue here to our very first question that what we're going to talk about here today.
Okay.
And that is, can you provide our viewers and some of our listeners here today with an understanding of what sustainability and environmental justice, what that actually means, and why that's such a crucial thing that we're hearing about, that folks are talking about these days?
Okay, so I'm going to try to give you the layman's definition of sustainability. Mm-hmm. If you were to look it up and Google it, you'll probably find something very close. But sustainability is basically taking something today and utilizing it in such a manner to where you have the ability for future generations to still be able to maintain that level of existence or living. That's pretty much around about what it is. And as far as environmentalness and how it plays in is that, mm-hmm. you know, you can upcycle, you can recycle, you can do all these different things to remain sustainable. You know, so that's pretty much what sustainability is.
Got it. And so now, why is it such a big, strong, important thing for today? Are people so up in arms about recycling and sustainability and all that sort of thing?
All right. So speaking about it from a manufacturer's standpoint, right? You mm-hmm. have clients, and those clients are very, very important, to your business. I think as a company, you have to have an identity, and you have to stand on something pretty firm and strong. So, why not stand on environmentalness and sustainability? But you have customers, and a lot of customers now, they have customers, and their customers are actually asking for these efforts of sustainability and environmental mindedness. Mm-hmm. So the reason why it's important today is that today your customers ask you if you have any initiatives, right? But every day legislation and laws are changing. Mm-hmm. So today it's an ask, tomorrow it's a requirement. Mm-hmm. So if you do not start that journey and you don't take it serious and understand where we're headed, then you could find yourself trying to scramble and put things in place. And so for the companies that took heed and went down that journey and down that pathway, they'll be positioned correctly. For other companies trying to get in late in the game, guess what? You lose out to your customers and your competitors that way. Mm. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's just the right thing to do. It's really important.
So that's a great point. You say it's the right thing to do.
It's the right thing to do.
So tell us why is it the right thing to do? Because so often things like this, intersect with the broader point of socio-economic inequalities that exist, especially in the United States, right? So how does that play out, in the context of the SGP and what its aim is to do, right? How are we getting the word out, getting the message out, because the Riverside Epicenter here sits at the intersection of residential and corporate business, right? And you guys represent that sustainability, being mindful of your carbon footprint and that sort of thing. But oftentimes in certain areas, that's not necessarily a conversation that's always being had. Right. That's not necessarily a thing that's at the forefront, for a particular socioeconomic group, right? So help me understand the context of this event that you're bringing here. It's not a public event, so let me just be very, very clear. This is a very industry thing that's gonna happen. But your sustainability summit is a very cool thing. I think that will internally address some things that hopefully will eventually come out to the forefront, what happens in this meeting, for folks to be able to be educated about the importance of the business that they choose for their printing or other sustainable sorts of things. Could you speak to us about that a little bit?
Sure. So how are we getting the word out? Well, the event is one way. As you mentioned, it's not open to everyone. It's open to our community. And that's a lot of what environmental and sustainability is about, is having communities that, like, you don't have to know everything,
Sure.
I think a lot of people get intimidated, and they think they have to be an expert and a leader. And what SGP leverages, the Sustainable Green Printing Partnership, is experts at your disposal. You can focus on decision making and choosing the correct stakeholders versus knowing the actual technical aspects of carbon footprinting. Filing like reports. With the state for water and things of that nature. So, very important to have someone like SGP to leverage. And an event like this is open to our community members and anybody that's interested in joining the community. So they can come in, they can learn, they can have access to industry leaders, and we can talk about topics and have discussions on things that really matter as it relates to their business in regards to being environmentally minded and green. So very important. The event will be a great place where individuals, companies, organizations can come in, they can learn, and they can go back armed and empowered to take action. Not just action, but the right action.
So are you suggesting or saying that if I'm a small business here in the Mableton, Austell area, and I don't know, I screen print T-shirts, right? Or I make flyers, for other businesses to promote their business. Is this something, or is the SGP an organization that would be important to me if I'm concerned about how do I dispose of my ink? How do I, make sure that I'm doing the right thing in my community?
So yeah, actually, yes. The answer is yes. No matter the size, if you're large or small, if you want to be a part of the community and you meet certain requirements, you're not excluded. You're supported. And we are interested in that. We're interested in what happens throughout the printing industry. Mm-hmm. That's why we're always trying to take steps to make sure that we're thinking forward, and we're putting things in place and we're evolving and we're growing, because print is growing, mm-hmm. and we're very exclusive to print. I know there's so many other aspects and avenues of sustainability and, being green, but print is where we really, we offer something very unique to the customer and to the community member, because, SGP is the leading nonprofit organization that has encompassed all of the printing aspects within the United States and Canada. So what that means is that if a printer comes to us and they're not getting a generic or a very broad certification, they're getting something very specific to their business model, which is printing.
Gotcha. Understood. So then I guess that would be a part of the motivation then for hosting this event, is so that way you can educate.
It's all about education, learning, connecting.
That is super awesome. So tell us a little bit about how and why you chose to come here to the Riverside Epicenter.
Well, I'm gonna smile a little bit on this one because, I'm very familiar with this community. It's a beautiful community, a lot of really important people and places and things in this community. So I'm very familiar with the Epicenter, been here many a times, on other organizational initiatives. But today, when I was thinking about a place to host it, why not the Epicenter? Because beautiful amenities, very professional, a lot of support that's here. And, I hope I'm not stealing this from you, but you mentioned earlier that you guys were Silver LEED certified. And
That's
that was
right.
important. When I found out about that and I researched about what that certification represents and what it takes to actually meet that level of certification, it aligns greatly, I think, with SGP because it's about all of us being very responsible in the way that we conduct our daily practices. So could have went anywhere, but this was important. And then what is the message that you're sending to your attendees and into your community? You don't just select something that does not align, it does not support the areas that you want to work in and what's important and dear to the environment and to our state. So the Epicenter was the natural perfect choice for us.
Oh, that is great. So for those of you who don't know, LEED is the Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, right? That is from the United States Green Building Council. And what happens is, as our facility was being constructed, all of those things were in mind, right? With LEED being the world's most widely used green building rating system. So there's a rating system of points, for bronze, silver, gold level of LEED certification that happens. So it's all about providing a framework for healthy, highly efficient, and cost saving, right? So for us here at the Riverside Epicenter, you won't find paper towels in our bathrooms. There are hand dryers there. The way when the water goes down the drain, there's a certain way that it goes down the drain, and the way the water is reclaimed. The way our HVAC system works here, the amount of recycled materials that exist in the building and how the building was constructed. Those are things that are very, very important to us because it's about how we impact our carbon footprint.
Absolutely.
Particularly being a 113,000 square foot facility sitting on 10.5 acres. That's important, and particularly being in the community that we're in. And obviously you see the two of us sitting here, and that means a whole lot to us. So that way, hopefully, we can sit here as examples to others of how to be able to foster this earth that was given to us, so as we continue to grow and prosper and do the right thing. So I wanted to say thank you for that, for selecting us here at the Riverside Epicenter, because those philosophies align. So that's
absolutely. And you guys should be commended as well, because this was a decision you made at some point to go down that green path, that responsible path. I don't think that somebody said, hey, you have to be this in order to be here. It was something that you guys chose.
That's right.
And that's important, because you're in the community. You have a lot of eyes looking at you for leadership, and making sure you want to lead by example. So very important. I think you should be commended. I'm very proud of the work that you guys have done and what you represent and what you stand for. Mm-hmm. Like I said, beautiful facility. Not only does it look good on the outside, it's how it functions on the inside, and the ideologies of how you guys function, I think should be commended.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. So I kind of sort of have a two-part question coming up for you. So for some of those attendees of the Sustainability Summit that's coming up here, what would be some of the topics of discussion? What can they expect? Who might some of those speakers be? Like, what's the meat? Without letting totally the cat out the bag.
Without giving away. Right. Yeah, because we really want our attendees to be excited and to be surprised, because we spared no expense, as they said, which money was not used, but we spared no expense to make sure that we had a very good, diverse group of speakers and community members coming in. So that group of people that will be supporting this event, you have state representatives that will be there.
Okay.
Which is very important because, a lot of the times when you're trying to discover, what's coming, what's happening, if you pay attention, of course, to politics and laws being passed, you get a firsthand glimpse of the future, and then you can act. Sometimes it is important to be reactive instead of, be proactive instead of reactive. So state representatives will be there. We do have subject matter experts. They're coming from large companies that we all know. And then also we have roundtable discussions that we'll have. Mm-hmm. And this is where we can really have attendees engage and learn and ask questions and be intuitive. That's where the learning process really, happens and flourishes. Mm-hmm. And it's really important to create an environment where your members, your attendees can actually feel empowered to ask questions, because, you sit there and you're thinking about something you should have asked, and, if they don't feel comfortable in that setting, they go back without a question answered. So that'll be very, very important, I think, to our attendees. And we'll cover anything from carbon footprinting to the way that brand leaders see sustainability and environmental approaches to business. We've got a little workshop that'll be a part of the itinerary for the day. So very, very diverse group, very, very robust, and a very, very intentionally selected agenda for the day.
Awesome. So you touched on a few different things, right? And one of the things I heard in particular speaks about community and in getting involved and participating.
Right. Quite
often, you said it, a lot of times we tend to be reactive instead of being proactive and getting involved about the scenarios and situations before they occur, rather than getting upset about something after it's already happened.
Right.
So I think that's great. So let me commend you now for, one, bringing that up, and then two, deciding to host an event with business and community partners and leaders to talk about something that's so important. And in particular, to be an individual, I'm gonna just quite frankly go ahead and say it, for being a Black man in a position of leadership, to take charge in this field that we don't often enough hear or see our own reflection in terms of topics and things like this. So that's super duper important. So with that being said, right, what do you believe are some of the challenges that the Metro Atlanta area faces as it pertains to environment, carbon footprint, justice in those areas, and will the Sustainability Summit address any of those things?
I think as a whole, I believe that the 2023 SGP Sustainability Summit will address some of those things. I think what's important is, and once again, I'm going to say it again, is community. When you look at the challenges that are out there, it becomes important that no matter what your economic situation is, what your social situation is, your national situation, your nationality, everybody deserves, access to a clean environment. And I think that's what the SGP Summit addresses, because it's for all. It's for all companies that want to be a part of it and want to learn and be able to put things in place and put plans in place. So yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So the SGP has been around since about 2007. The National Environment and Health Safety Conference, since that event happened back then, and there were some key stakeholders who decided to come together and say, hey, wait a minute, we need to develop a more sustainable way for supply chain, printing, all those things to come together. So since then, and as a result of that, right, what has been some of the success stories that the SGP can champion and say, hey, look, as a result of the involvement that we've had, this is why the SGP partnership is doing its job and doing a good thing, and why membership is so important.
Okay, so some of the things that we've done that were really, really great, important, and influential. It's like I mentioned before, we one of the very first and only ones to encompass all parts of print, and we're always evolving. So when we look at our offerings and what tools we offer and programs that we have in place, we've leveraged like technology. So we've included like an impact tracker. So companies now that complete the certification, they have access to this tracker, and they're able to actually monitor their carbon footprint on the dashboard page of that tracker. They're able to house all of their documents. So I think what's most important about SGP and the certification process, if you're a facility, there is a facility certification, there's also supplier certification, right? So what's important for it to me is that it allows companies to sustain. So if they have changeovers and they lose someone in their sustainability department, then the tracker, the technology that we have in place allows someone else to come in that can actually pick right up where the other person left off, and they don't lose any momentum. And to me, that's what drives companies to constantly be moving forward to be more greener and to be more mindful and sustainable. So very important, I think, for companies to have that access and to have that feature. So that's one thing I think that we can hang our hat on. And we've brought together so many different groups. We connect with a lot of different organizations for one common goal, and I think that's one of the things that we can really hang our hat on.
So any particular brand names that maybe we might know already, or any company in particular, that stands out to you that you could say, oh my gosh, this partnership with the SGP has really helped them, become that much better or do something different. Or maybe it might just be us here at the Riverside Epicenter. We have some large format printing that we utilize here as well, beyond just, the typical office copier.
Right.
For different events and things like that. So, maybe that's something, maybe we can become a success story. That's part of the reason why we're sitting here, right?
Yeah,
is so definitely. We can have that conversation and create those synergies, right? I think that is super duper awesome. So, not to labor over everything and drag this thing out here. But please tell us, man. So for other businesses, that would be interested in how they can be better about their green and sustainability, and if they're interested in getting involved, how do they do that? How do they get involved? How can folks contact Mr. Birdley James, the SGP, and dig in?
Well, our website would be probably the first point. The easiest way to get information quickly on it would be sgp.com. Anyone is welcome to go there and take a look. It has a lot about our organization on there. There's also resources on there. So even just down to getting started, if you are an organization, you're in printing, or you're a supplier of a printer, maybe if you want to be a patron, just want to support it.
Sure.
Or maybe a resource partner. We're always developing resource partners and bringing in resource partners that support our initiatives and help us, grow our community. So I would say go to the website, take a look. You can actually register right there online. Someone would contact you. We are really developing the engagement part of our organization. So we believe strongly in engagement. So somebody would contact you pretty immediately and start having those discussions of where you are, where you're trying to go, what do you want to do, and just to make sure it's the right fit, that they fit in and we fit in with them. And, we would love to help and be able to be an asset to that company.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So, World, Atlanta, Georgia, you heard it here first. Mr. Birdley James is telling you, if you print flyers, if you print T-shirts, if you print a signage of any type, he's the guy to talk to. This is the man. Yeah. So, particularly if it concerns you about being careful about our environment, and you're not just tossing it in the trash and don't want to see it, go down. Because here at the Riverside Epicenter, this is the EpiPod studio. And I want to be very clear about who we are and where we are. We're right adjacent to the Chattahoochee River, okay? And those types of things mean something. People like to go have recreation in the Chattahoochee River. People like to go fishing in the Chattahoochee. We have all of our other natural bodies of water where that leads to. And we want to make sure that that it still be here for our children, for our grandchildren, Absolutely. And for generations to come, and that we're not poisoning our community. When we talk about poison in our community, everybody thinks drugs and alcohol, but there are so many other different ways that we do that to our communities as well. And we want to make sure that there is access to information and access to organizations that help us do that in such a right way. And so as we wrap that up, we just want to say thank you, everybody, for joining us here today for this particular edition of the Epictalks Behind the Curtain right here at the EpiPod studio at the Riverside Epicenter. And we want to say thank you so much, everybody, for joining us, and stay tuned for our next episode.